All right, y'all. I go by the name of Kameron Davell,
Marcus.
and we are tired in Jamaica. So I didn't really have a itinerary on how we should do this, but I figured it was a good opportunity maybe for like you to ask some questions of me, concerning my artistry in general. And you've heard the album. You've heard most of it. I would say. I'm sure you have some opinions or questions. So yeah, I guess yeah, you take the interview. You the interviewer now.
Yeah. So, listening through the album as it progresses has really been a treat, man. Especially
Thank
from the early works, of course. Especially from the early works until near completion. It's really been a journey that has been something that not only I feel like is just quality music, but it's music that it touches you in your soul. You know what I'm saying? It's not just relatable, it's malleable in a way that is beneficial. And so I really fuck with it.
What do you mean by malleable
I mean,
in this context?
I think I misspoke, but it's tangible, rather, I should say. It's tangible, not malleable.
Okay, okay.
But it's something that you can, you don't just listen to, but it grips you.
Mm.
So,
You the interviewer, dog.
So, that being said, tell me a little bit about the process, the refinement process, from the very early days of the album to where you are now.
The refinement process. And okay, I'm glad. That's actually a really good question. That's a really good question. So intentionally, I went into this album with like the intention of being minimalist. For like the first time ever for me as an artist, like I'm a maximalist to the core, which means that I tried to cram as much shit into a song as possible. And for this album, because of like just where I was at in my life and what I was going through, I sort of challenged myself to say like, all right, Cam, can you make a captivating project without all of the bells and whistles? Can you just, because this is my personal belief, like all the best songs are the best songs because of the roots of the song. So like I'll give you an example. When you talk about like Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, it's one of the best songs ever made. Not because we just fucking listen to it all day, but we're still teaching it to our kids. And we have never heard no fucking beat to that song.
That's true. It's still a hit.
it's a hit.
Right.
You fucking find me somebody that don't know Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. So like I sort of took the approach of like, all right, like I want these songs to hit without much going on. So like the intro, don't dare me to jump. I might have to jump. There's like literally no beat to that. Like up until a certain point. Like it's just dun dun dun. It's just a synth bass. That's all it is a synth bass. And then after I'm through performing, then you get the doom doom car doom 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 car. But up until that point, like it's literally just a synth pad. So back to the point about the refinement process. Making the album in its infantile stage and kind of like living with it for a while, I got to kind of like see how much do I want to level it up while still keeping that original plan of minimalism in mind. And what happened as a result is the tweaks became less about how much more can you add to the song, and it became more about how can you make the song more dynamic. So think about it in terms of like it's still maximalistic, but in terms of arrangement instead of production. So it's like I might use 20 instruments within the span of the song, but they're not all happening at one time. So there's a progression to it.
That's fascinating, man. Was there ever a moment during that process where you felt like you were leaning into that dynamic? Does that make sense? So what I mean by that is in your development and your refinement process, did you always have a vision of the final like outcome, or did it take you a while as you were doing that to kind of come to that final vision?
I'm gonna be honest. No, definitely not a final vision in mind, or multiple final visions in mind, ever changing. So like, I don't even know if there will be a final version of the album. There will be like a streaming version, but at some point, I may find it in my best interest to, or in y'all's best interest, to go through and make some minor little tweaks. And it might be something you don't even notice, like just tweaking a little kick. But what was important for me to keep the album cohesive was creating a sonic palette. So I was operating sort of off of these rules that I set for myself that, like, I didn't necessarily have to write down, but I just kept in the back of my mind. So it's like, okay, I wanted synth basses, I wanted abrasiveness, I wanted sparseness, and I wanted it to be dark and moody, just because of, like I said, shit I was going through in my life, working on the project, and things I'm still working out of. But it was more about like, this is the type of music that would fit the project. And then other music that I have made since working on that project will just be repurposed. Because now I will say, for this album, I made it in a very short period of time. And I did make songs though that like will not be on the project just because they don't fit. But yeah, so less about a final vision in mind, but more about having a palette and wanting to commit to the palette.
That makes sense. I appreciate you sharing that. Tell us a little more about the conception of the album. So obviously, it's called "A Tired to Sleep Cannot Fix," and you've spoken a little bit about that on some of your posts. But can you kind of go into detail about that, or can you go into detail about that a little more?
The $1 million question. Whew. This will probably be like one of the only interviews that you get for this album cycle, and it. I'm speaking to you guys. This will probably be one of the only interviews that you get for this album cycle, simply because I'm in a place in my life to where I care more about quality than I care about quantity, and
Well said.
and I'm treating this as a quality offering to the people who really care and want to know. So with that said, like, I'll let you guys in on everything. So it's called "A Tired the Sleep Cannot Fix." So there's layers to it. For the past 7 years, I uprooted my life 7 years ago and moved to Minnesota. And it was great. And what's crazy is I wanted to move to Minnesota when I was like 19, and it just didn't quite work out. I kind of had a plan, and it didn't work. But I finally moved to Minnesota, and a big part of the reason why I chose Minnesota, or why I have this weird like connection with Minnesota, is at a pivotal point. At a pivotal point in my life, there were people from Minnesota that I just literally stumbled across online, like on Twitter, and they just had a fucking movement, bro. Then come to find out, like, you start seeing people who you're familiar with, like, somebody who directly knows this person, like Alan Kingdom, for example. Shout out to Alan Kingdom. I was on him fairly early, when he made like uh Talk to Strangers and Trucker Music, and like, his music was so weird, but it was so organic, and it just felt so full of life. And then come to find out, bro, now this nigga's got a song with fucking Kanye West. And it wasn't just him. It was so many people like achieving that level of stardom that, most artists would aspire to reach. So I moved to Minnesota, but it came with a lot of restlessness. I moved by myself. I had to immediately hit the fucking ground running, give me a job while I'm still working on music, trying to link up with these people who I really looked up to, and I accomplished that. And, I'm working the toughest jobs I ever worked in my life. Like, I was working for this one company where I did appliance installation, and, we're lifting like 600 pounds, 700 pound, 800 pound. It keep going. Refrigerators up, people like, bro, we was in like rich nigga mansions and shit like that.
On some real struggle.
The door closed, but but on some real ass shit, bro. And basically, do we need to like cut?
Yeah, yeah, let's take a break.
We gonna take a little break.
Yeah, we need to close. How you feel like it's going so far?
I feel like it's going good. I might fuck around and upload this with all the shit, just raw, bro. Cause that's the vibe I'm on. Like, I know my face isn't perfectly lit,
Right.
I know that this isn't but this fits the vibe of the album. My face isn't perfectly lit on the album cover either. So, okay, but anyways, tired the sleep cannot fix. I'm working the toughest jobs and I'm literally not getting sleep. I'm working for like 15 hours a day. I'm grinding. I'm working my ass off. I had a daughter. I'm, I'm mourning the infancy of my daughter because I have no time to spend with her. I'm just killing myself. And even once I got out of that job, I got me a better job. But like, you know, bro, so much. So at the job I'm currently at, I was driving my truck and I had just got back from Vegas where I shot some like super crazy music videos. Y'all should check them out. And it's crazy because it's like I'm in Vegas, I'm in the fucking Lamborghini, I'm in the fucking, you know what I'm saying? Like, bro, I'm almost some pure rapper shit, bro. And it like my vision fully comes to life, and then it's like this whiplash because like the next day I'm back driving the truck, and which is fine. I actually enjoy driving the truck, but like shortly after that trip, somebody tried to commit an armed robbery on me. So while I'm at the
Wow.
fucking while I'm at the red light, buddy is like, well, this is the fucked up part. I'm at the red light. At first, all I hear is doom doom doom, and somebody like pulling on the handle to the
Shit.
passengers. Yeah, but my door was locked, so he wasn't able to get in. If he was able to, you know what I'm saying? Like it would probably been like, "Nigga, get out the fuck," or drive this bitch. I don't know what buddy was on. Like, and he wasn't no junkie either, bro. Like he was very well kept. Like you know, like slick on some like cartel type vibe. Because he ended up being like, I got a fucking gun. Don't say a word. You know,
That's
and come this
wild.
way. And I gassed on it, bro. Like I ran like 3 red lights because like I'm not. But this is while I'm on the job. And this one incident, like it didn't like change my life or no shit like that, but it accelerated something that I had already been dealing with, which is this thing called threat rehearsal. So when you suffer from like complex PTSD, like you have PTSD, but then you have CPTSD, and complex PTSD is like accumulative PTSD. And when you have that, your nervous system can't shut off. So when I go to sleep at night, instead of having a dream, like having a normal dream, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, nigga, I'm flying through the city and I got
Yeah.
superpowers and shit like that. Like, instead of that, I'm literally in my house. It's like a 1-to-1 perfect, super hyper realistic, but I'm defending my home from a home invader. You know what I'm saying? And like, what makes the shit so fucking crazy is I get up out of my bed and like I'm like grabbing my gun and fucking, and then like it got to the point, bro. I like woke my wife up out of her sleep because I was like, babe, you heard that? And she was like, bro, what the fuck? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what's wrong?
Right.
But it threat rehearsal basically is your mind running simulations to prevent future catastrophes, essentially.
For sure.
You get what I'm saying? So anyways, like restlessness, right? And so that's one layer of it. I don't necessarily, we can go as deep as you want to. I don't know if you want to like kind of like dive into any other aspects or.
I mean, let's break it down. Let's get into it, right? So, um, wow, talking about that traumatic event and the realization of the CPTSD and how that played a factor into the album. Do you? Well, first off, I want to say that with the content of the album and what you just let us know, I think this album is really gonna. I know I already said it's gonna speak to people, but not just speak to people, but it's gonna speak to people in a very specific way, and it's gonna hit a nerve that I feel like is damn near untouched in modern music in a way that is quality.
Mm.
So what I mean by that is there are so many people that have gone through so many different things and they're struggling, and to hear you be able to vocalize that in a way that is captivating is something that's I really think that's gonna go far, man.
Yeah. And I would say like another layer to that, right? Which and thank you for what you're saying as far as like, because that's some whole other shit to get into, which is just like the state of music. I feel like homemade is always better. And I think the reason why the music is sticking with people is like I produce, engineer, write, perform all of these songs from top to bottom. The album has one song with a sample on it. By the time you hear it, it might have two, but as it stands, it's like it only has one sample on the whole album, and that's the song "Tomorrow." Everything else, I literally produced from scratch, like sound by sound, program the melody, all of that. And so I just want to say thank you for
For sure.
acknowledging the care that I put into the music.
And I think not just me. I think you'll see that thanks reciprocated when the album drops through the fans.
I think so too. I had a
So
dude hit me up today. Shout out Mr. Freedom, bro. Mr. He all the way from France, and he was like, "So when are you dropping your album?" And I no bullshit. He asked me this shit like once a week, but he hella polite. He hella polite, but he just kind of like, you got to drop the album though, right? And I'm like, bro, I promise it is at the toppest of my priority, but so I think you're right, and I'm sort of seeing it, and it's in God's hands where it goes. But just even on that note, like another layer of the a tired that sleep cannot fix is like, bro, trying to make something out of my life, trying to fucking you know push this music shit, trying to use my gift, right? It's like, yo, you got a gift, you want to see it do something for people, and but you get caught up in this shit, bro. Like, just as far as like when I originally was a young aspiring rapper and shit like that, like social media wasn't the thing that it is now. And analytics weren't the only thing that were sort of like measured was like YouTube views. But for the most part, people just didn't give a fuck about like, oh, this has this many shares and this many, like some of these metrics that we use for engagements like didn't even exist. And now everything is measured. So it's like average watch time. So it's like social media is engineering our brains to take something that is intrinsically like of God, which is music, which is art, and it's training us to reduce that to something that is dead and which is like mathematics and trying to calculate outcomes. So like now niggas is not making songs because they feel like this is what the world needs. They're making songs strictly with the intention of this will make them share it. This will keep their attention. This, and it's like I was tired the sleep cannot fix. I was so like caught up in that. Not always, but recently, and like really to the point to where I got inspired to make the album. It came from a place of anxiety because I was like, yo, like, I'm just stressed the fuck out. And now, like, God really woke me up and showed me, like, bruh, it's not your job to manipulate the consumer. And like even that the consumer. It's like, bro, these are human beings. I want to make music for people at the end of the day. You feel where I'm coming from? So
right.
so that's another layer. It's like a tired the sleep cannot fix. Like I'm stressed the fuck out. I'm tired and I get sleep, but my mind doesn't shut off. So it's like a spiritual and emotional tiredness.
Mm, wow, that speaks volumes, and I get that, and I'm excited for that shit to come out. Switching it up a little bit, what would you say is your favorite track on it? Personally, not that you think everybody's gonna like, but your personal favorite track.
And this is where I gotta be careful because I'm trying to not to let like pride come in because like, nigga, when you dope like me. You know what I'm saying? Like that's my first initial like response. But like I guess to give a direct answer, I'd say the song that I probably listen to the most these days would be probably "You Say Coincidence, I Say God"
Great track.
um or "Inside Out" or "For Better or Worse." I love "For Better or Worse." But bro, it's too many songs. Like and usually what my favorite is like whatever I'm tweaking at the time. So like if I just get a bug in my ear that says, Cam, you need to go work on Warrior River, then like I'll just go and then add shit. Boom, that's my favorite song. So there is no favorites. The album is quality front to back, and I feel comfortable saying that because of that was my whole intention. You know,
For sure. Was there anything production wise in this album that you felt was a focus? So we talked about like the material aspect of it as far as the message goes, but production wise, was there something that I'm not gonna say was a challenge, but was there a goal for you that you had in production? Like on this song, I want to sound like this, but by way of said instrument or anything akin to that.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like on the sort of like macro scale of it, like minimalism, like I said, was a goal. But if we're getting into the weeds of the production, I was just largely driven by new toys. Like I got a bass guitar, so you hear like certain ambient bass licks in the background. If you say coincidence, I say God. Certain drum kits, trying to get away from the stereotypical go-to drum kits, even though I love them. Um, but I just wanted shit to be like, okay, actually, I'll tell you the truth. I'm from Alabama, and the city within Alabama that I would say had the most influence on me as far as like music and my network would be Birmingham.
Shout out.
I lived in Birmingham for many years, and I would consider that like my home. I have a lot of homes, but like that's my home, and I always felt like you know Drake put a sound to his city. Nobody knew fucking Toronto, and it's like he got songs like I just wanna be successful, and nobody heard a beat like that before. Like that was some total new shit, and you have like you have variations of sounds, so it's like the Bay kind of sound like L.A., but it's like they're different. But I wanted to plant my flag in the ground of like if there was a sound to put to my city and how I came up, it would be this. It's dark, it's industrial, it's abrasive, it's melodic, it's it's brutalist, right? And what I mean by that is just like as lyrical as I love to be, what was so freeing about this album was the emphasis I put on emotion, maybe as a priority over lyricism in a lot of cases, and then also simplicity over complexity in a lot of cases. Um, so yeah, there are a lot of elements that went into it. But like, if you want like the science of what makes these songs, like I love synths, I love any sound that sounds like Prince or Phil Collins. I love trap drums. You would say that this is a trap album. Like it's a forward thinking experimental trap album, but these are trap beats, bro. I like samples, but I like minor chords. Like so, there are ingredients to it, but I'm largely directed by whatever new thing I'm inspired by. So it's like, oh, I just downloaded a new plugin. Boom, my next beat gonna sound like the new shit that I just got.
So, in that same vein, would you say a lot, or let's particularly with this album, would you say that a lot of that inspiration came from um, just curiosity of that new technology or whatever new thing you had at the time and exercising your skills with it?
Absolutely, absolutely, and this was slick like my foray into rage music in a lot of ways as well. So if you're familiar with rage music, it's I I wouldn't go all the way. Like I wouldn't make music necessarily like Yeet or Playboy Cardi or Lil Uzi Vert, even though I think that they're dope in their own ways. But this was sort of like playing with distortion, playing with vocal delay, um, things like that.
Word. What was there a particular moment during the album creation that you felt was like a bright spot, be that a breakthrough in production or lyrically or even spiritually or emotionally?
I absolutely do. So the ones that I would say are sort of like the not necessarily comic relief of the album, but just so like for better or worse, you know, the hook was inspired by kind of like old wives. Like I'm not even gonna lie, really inspired by like biblical teaching, right? And I know that might sound weird, but like, oh shit get better, shit gonna get worse. Like that go back to like, you know, heaven is for like he who endures into the end. So it's like I'm trying to make like spiritually motivational music. Like you're gonna experience trials and tribulations. You're going to have your ups and downs, but just remember, before shit gets better, it's gonna get worse. So if you're in the worst, that means the better is still coming. So I look at that as like a real uplifting motivational song. It might not sound like that though, but like to me, I really feel that way. Like I get really like that shit damn near bring a tear to my eye when I think about that, just because it uplifts me. And then I would say like I was very intentional about ending the album on the "You Say Coincidence, I Say God" because that song is me at my most serene, me at my most like I would say like full of clarity, right? The song is full of clear. It's whatever I was going through on "Don't Dare Me to Jump, I Might Have to Jump" through the progression of the album. By the time I got to "You Say Coincidence, I Say God," it's like the epiphany. Ah, yeah, all that is painful, but remember. So yeah, I would say that as well, bro. That shit's so crazy. They playing like the OG samples and shit.
Yeah.
It be the weeping in the morning and the gnashing of teeth. Like that shit crazy. But anyway, but yeah, we can wrap up and stuff like that if you,
For sure. I got one final question for you.
tell me.
What? And of course, people are gonna get what they get out of it. But do you have anything that you would like the listener to get out of it?
Yes,
Aside from great music, obviously, and the message.
yes. This album comes from a really dark place. I'm not making this music to put people in a dark place. I'm making this music to show my testimony with the world because I know that just because I'm in this dark place right now, I won't stay in that place. So when I eventually get to a point to where I'm at peace with myself and I'm rested and rejuvenated, you guys can look back on this album and see the progression of my character because things are changing in me as well. Like I already know the direction, like loosely, that I want to take my next album. Um, and it's not gonna sound like this, but it's gonna be better in its own way. But yeah, I just I want and on some real shit. All jokes aside, bro, we fucking need good music. We need and not only do we need good music, we need people who give a fuck about making good music, bro. You guys, people can say what they want about me. People can, fucking like we're living in a day and age right now to where like artists are afraid to express themselves because as you release your beautiful art into the world, there's a million fucking piranhas of like music reviewers and fucking critics that come through and their sole purpose is to shit on your music. And they're not shitting on your music because they actually even give a fuck. They're shitting on your music because that's gonna run up their engagement. And they're just using you as an ends to a means or a means to an end. And with that being said, like, I don't give a fuck about none of that shit. If I gotta be the last nigga on earth that is making music that I feel that's real art, and you could press a fucking button right now and generate a song from scratch. If y'all want that, go listen to that. But I'll never be that, and I'll never do that. And it's just because I know that I don't want that. I don't. I get inspired by my favorite artists putting their fucking heart and soul into their music, and that is a dying breed. Most people look at this shit like an easy come up, like, oh, I'm just finna rap and then be, had a clout, and it's like, bro, I look at this shit like hard labor. I look at this shit like, nigga, by any means necessary, I'm gonna fucking make this shit as beautiful as possible. So as far as what I want people to get out of it, it's just like, bro, I want you to get your dose. I want you to get your hit. I want you to get that dopamine. But I want you to get that anointing as well because God has blessed people through my music in ways that like I have nothing to do with, just quite frankly. But like that's beautiful because that means that it's not on me. It doesn't weigh on me. It's I just have to do my part. And as long as I do my part, God's gonna do his part. So So yeah.
Well, with that being said, man, we definitely appreciate your time. We're excited for the album to come out, and when it drops, it's gonna go crazy.
This
So
nigga saying,
thank you.
we look. This is my longest friend I ever had in my entire life.
Big up.
We just got through climbing a fucking waterfall
On some crazy shit.
on some TLC shit, on some don't go chasing waterfalls. Look, bro. Look, I'm not gonna lie. I never liked that song because I know what the fuck they was talking about,
Right.
nigga.
We literally found out.
I was like, oh, like when you said that shit, I was like, yo, damn, we are chasing fucking waterfalls. Now, it worked in our favor because, like, okay, so just to put it out there, like, we were climbing the fucking river and nigga, it's fucking rocks killing our feet. And bro, I got a big ass cut on my toe, bro. We barefoot and shit.
Brutal.
Bro, we going through the water with our cell phone. It's like, nigga, you fall, nigga, your phone is fucked. It's high, it's really high stakes and like high reward, but like high stakes.
It was
Not for the faint of heart. I'll say
Right. And you know, so we made our fucking trek, bro. And we were in what, Mayfield?
Mayfield Falls.
Mayfield Falls,
Yeah.
bro, out in the deep country in Jamaica. And we literally we were like addicted to this river with the waterfall. So we were like, where's the fucking
We were looking for a dope swim spot.
we were looking for a dope swim spot, and we were going up that bitch, and then we couldn't see what was around the corner, but we were like, damn.
on some Pocahontas just
Bro, we're like, bro, yeah, cause we're like, all right, look, let's just go a little bit further because I feel like some shit's gonna be there. We go around that bitch, nothing, but we'll see a new corner. We'd be like, oh shit, I bet if we go over there, it's gonna be some new shit. We fucking go around the fucking corner. It's still lame, and eventually we did find a dope ass swim spot. But so look, this is the lesson to be learning that shit. Sometimes you gotta chase a fucking waterfall, bro, because and like that kind of teach you about faith because we had like they said like walk by faith and not by sight. We kind of just had an intuition that like if we kept going, we were gonna run into something dope,
True.
and that's exactly what happened. And God been showing me like that's how life works. You'll end up in places you never imagined that you never thought that you would ever be at, bro. Me and this nigga are from fucking Alabama. We don't got no business here. You know what I'm saying?
in the middle of the country.
In the
Jamaica.
middle of the country, like on some shit, like nigga, this is not America. But we got to a dope ass swim spot. It was an amazing time. Nigga, we was snorkeling, we sunburnt, nigga. Bro, I ain't gonna lie. Sometimes I'll be forgetting I'm light skinned, bro. I be forgetting that shit, bro. And I had a rude awakening,
Hey, that Caribbean sun will remind you real quick.
nigga. So, but yeah, I appreciate you showing me love and everything.
For sure.
And for you guys, I would like to officially announce the release date. No, I'm just kidding. That I don't have a release date.
Oh.
I'll probably just drop it when I feel good or like when I'm like manic and I'm like, I need to drop it now for no apparent reason.
It's coming soon, though.
But yeah, like literally I just have a song, like not even a song, I just have a verse to finish and I needed to recharge and I did that and I feel great about that. So when I get back to the United States, I'm sure, like this trip alone may have like given me another album. So if that's what it takes to like keep you guys happy and satisfied and everything, that's what I'm gonna keep doing. So yeah, a tired of sleep cannot fix.
good shit, bro.